All right, welcome everyone to the Flux Dev Meeting. Today is May the 26th, and we have a couple of agenda items I checked. Don't have any actions from last time. We have a repeating agenda item about the image update automation. As Michael is not here, does anyone have any updates, anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, so we've been receiving some bug reports on the latest release. And we definitely need help to solve them. Some weird things are happening, hard to replicate, like before the upgrade, the image automation would do a single commit for all the images. Now it does several commits. I cannot explain that. Other stuff like it sometimes deletes, so it deletes files randomly when it does a commit. It also does empty commits. So lots and lots of issues. They are recorded on the image automation controller repo.
Okay, I noted this down. Good. Anything else about image automation?
We are going to do a release today that will include some package updates also for the image automation, but I don't expect them to fix any bug that was reported.
Is it hard to automate tests for these things? Like if a commit happens or empty files are, or empty commits happen or files are deleted, that sort of thing, is it easy or hard to do?
We have, yeah, go here.
The image automation controller is fairly well tested. So I assume that it's in minor details. And so far, I think most of the issues haven't been very descriptive about people, their setups, but rather an explanation of the behavior they're seeing without much to trace back what happened within the full stack of the controller, basically. So I don't think it's due to tests or anything. I think it's more that there is some test lacking covering certain settings, and we haven't found a conclusive answer yet on what those settings are.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for the update. Also have a repeating agenda item around docs updates. Not too much to report. We're still working with a web developer to help us fix a couple of issues. We also saw a bunch of updates to the adopters page. Like I reached out to everyone who added their company logo in the past. So there's a flurry of new logos on there, which is nice to see. Ian, you have also something about docs, right?
Yes, we have the Jenkins and Flux PR that's in the notes here. I think it's pretty good. There's a list of 3 things I thought that maybe it could use as improvements, but I think it's in good enough shape to merge. It's much smaller than my previous docs PRs, or the big one anyway. It's not like the manifest generation. Just covers one use case. There's one code example. The main thing I think that it might need is an actual example of the image automation and all of the Flux resources that go with it. But I've linked out to docs that provide how to do that stuff, and I left that stuff out because who knows if it'll change. This will be one more doc we need to update. It seemed like a reasonable arrangement to me.
So you're looking for a review now and then maybe add the example later? Is that the idea?
Unless we think it should just have it first, and then they'll put it in. It won't take long. And the other thing I have is about Flux V1 maintenance. I don't know if this is going to be worthwhile or not, but I'm testing Renovate bot on my personal fork, and going through all the things that are behind in Go module updates one by one, running the tests again, maybe merge 4 things at a time. It's a lot easier than trying to do individual updates myself because I'm not that familiar with Go mod. And it is pretty moving along pretty well. I found at least one thing that probably can't be updated yet. So hoping to get some of the Go modules up to date for the next Flux V1 release.
Maybe it's clear to everyone else. Can you say a word about Renovate?
Yeah, Renovate is, I think, mostly open source. There's a company behind it, and I haven't figured out how they get you to pay for it, but it opens pull requests on your repos for whatever dependency things are behind. It's like GitHub Dependabot, but not just focused on security things. It'll update everything, and it is a little bit selective. Like if there's a minor upgrade and a major upgrade, it'll make separate pull requests. So you can just accept the minor upgrade and think about tabling a major update until later, or test them both and move it ahead. So I haven't done a lot of testing on this, but I'm letting the end-to-end tests run, and I think I'll probably pull back one big PR when I'm satisfied that we've updated all the depths we can. That's about it.
Super. Any questions or feedback for Kingdon? Thank you. Stefan, you said you had another item?
Yeah, so we are trying to release Flux this week, hopefully today or tomorrow. It will be Flux 2.0.14. And the big feature that comes in this version is an alternative to using Git submodules. So Flux will offer a native way of including Git repos in other Git repos without using Git submodules, and that has many advantages over the native Git submodules approach. For example, when you use submodules, the authentication key has to be the same. So you cannot use deploy keys, as a deploy key cannot be reused for more than one repo. Also, if you make a change to a submodule, you have to pull the change in your main repo and commit and push that. Using the Flux Git include feature, you can use different authentication mechanisms for all these repos. So you're no longer tied to the to a token, to the token authentication. So you can use SSH with different keys. And one of the main advantages is that Flux will detect changes in a sub module and will automatically update the main artifact, the main repository artifact. So you don't have to do any kind of manual operations after you push a commit to some repository. Flux will detect that change and will recompile the main repo, including all the changes in all the other repos and so on. And this feature is trying to improve the situation of customize. So what happens today if you use customized remote base, pulling things from different Git repos, it means that you no longer have caching inside the cluster. Customized build always pulls the Git repos. You cannot use authentication unless you mount keys or tokens inside customized control. So it's a lot of work. Using the new include feature means that you can place your customization YAML in your, let's say, infrastructure repo and import files even if they aren't there. They are in another repo. You tell Flux, hey, take these files from that particular repo and place them in the main repo under the base directory. Then in your customizations, you can say import base and you can customize however you want those manifests. And this also works great for, let's say, public repos, other open source projects where you cannot just go to that repo and make changes, but you want to fine tune something. Let's say you want to install, I don't know, Contour or the Nginx Ingress controller or whatever, right? And you want to do some customizations over it. Now it's easier and more straightforward. Another change is around the Git packages that we use. We've updated GoGit and libgit2 in source control and we'll be doing this update all over the place. And there is an important improvement in the GoGit package where it no longer loads into memory large files. So what happens now if you have large files in your Git repo, even if they aren't YAMLs, right? When source controller clones the repo, it will load each file into memory. So let's say if you have some 1 gigabyte file, it will consume at least 1 gigabyte of memory. Now it will buffer those to 1 megabyte buffer. So for those of you who have large files in Git repos, you should see a major improvement in the memory usage of source controller. And yeah, and we will also add Flux 0.14 will come with support for Azure Event Hub. So you can send all the Flux events outside the cluster to your Azure Event Hub instance, and from there decide what to do with them. It's just another option of how to send out events, alerts to external systems, and this is part of notification controller. And we also have examples on how you can set up authentication for Azure Event Hub and docs. So that's going to be released this week.
Super. Any questions? Oh, sorry.
Maybe Hide can talk about the refactoring that we are working on right now. So we are
short outline.
trying to support case status. I think we've talked about that on the last meeting, but we are trying to do more than just adding two new conditions. And yeah, I'll ask Hide to say some words about it.
So our controllers do a lot of bookkeeping of states or observations rather. For example, if it was able to successfully clone a source, or if it was able to pull a chart. And to record those conditions, we have at the moment a lot of logic that basically sets a condition and then modifies directly the object and then continues to work with the object. With the case status work, I saw room to standardize a lot of the work we do with conditions so that it can be done through a single conditions helper API. And it will also be possible to summarize conditions based on a set of conditions. So for example, the ready condition can then be calculated based on the presence of other condition types on an object. This is, however, quite a lot of work because it's also involves refactoring a lot of the procedural logic we have in the controllers. There is an issue I can link to so that you can have a code example ID of what I'm working on. But the source controller is the main controller. I've been doing it for at the moment because it's our top controller, which is used everywhere. I expect to be done with the source controller this week, and then it can be copied over pretty quickly to the other controllers, which are a lot simpler. Anything you specifically want to have mentioned, Stefan, because you have some idea what I've been working on, what is interesting to people to know?
Yeah, so we are currently trying to move a lot of logic from our controllers into shared packages. We have a repository called package, where we have a runtime, where we have our runtime helpers. And with people trying to create other controllers on top of Flux, we want to make that experience better and help them get a particular implementation integrated with everything inside Flux easier. For example, setting conditions, having a depends-on relationship between other objects besides Helm releases and customization and all of that. So our goal is, let's say, by the end of the summer to have a solid runtime library and add documentation on top of that, so people can easily build other extensions to Flux. And this is just stage one, refactoring our things, place it there. Then we should write documentation for GoDoc and write tutorials on how you can use all these packages to build other things. We now have the source watcher example, how you can subscribe to source controller events, pull the manifest from there, but that's about it. And that's like step 0. Step 1 would be, hey, these are the conditions that you should use. These are the helpers that you can use to easily compose them and so on. And yeah, Hide has been doing great work towards that, also around artifact management and so on.
Oh, and one big thing I forgot, the test coverage has increased by a lot, and much of the end-to-end testing is now done against a real API server and with full coverage, for example, both Git implementations. So we're basically improving our internal packages also by a lot.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions or feedback? Right. Yeah, great work. Santochi, you also have an agenda item.
Nothing major. It's just I started implementing part of the multi-tenancy proposal on the customized controller. Basically, just the ability to just impersonating users before validating and garbage collection and health checks and stuff like that. So it's definitely still a work in progress. I just wanted to just put it on the radar.
Yeah, so to explain a little what this means is that we now do multi-tenancy by impersonating service accounts. And what Somtochi is doing is adding a new option to this. You can impersonate Kubernetes users instead of service accounts, which is a safer approach to multi-tenancy, because for our service account, you can run pods under that service account, and maybe you don't want to allow that for your tenants. So you can create users for those tenants. Flux will be using that particular user when it reconciles, does the health check, does everything it needs to do, but you cannot run other things under that user because it's just a Kubernetes user. And we'll probably have some flag at start, so you can opt in into the user impersonation to try it out. And if that goes well in time, we'll switch the default from service account to user. But the service account impersonation will still be available, and there is no breaking change to that. We are adding an alternative, safer alternative to the current implementation.
Is it like decided now that this is the way that we're going to go?
So what happens now is that the proposal that Lee made is kind of stuck in a discussion. Our proposal was, let's implement it in some controller, see how it goes, see the whole user experience, how they have to create these users, how they are doing it, what steps are involved, and so on, and actually try it out. Because by just looking at the proposal, you cannot envision what things a user has to do to switch to this new impersonation stuff. So this is like a proof of concept implementation for the proposal. And after we have this implemented by Santochi, we can discuss it and actually see the code changes and everything else. So I think it's a great step forward in that direction. So nothing has been decided, right?
Okay. No, I think it's good. I don't have any issue with implementation or anything like that. I'm just thinking that within the discussion, we should just probably like add some notes there, like, oh yeah, so this work is ongoing now to do some sort of proof of concept, so that somebody else who's interested in this, if they see the discussion, they actually know what the status is on the work.
Yeah, so the plan is, after we have something running, let's say the pull request that Satoshi made runs well, works, then we can release it under a future flag. So by default, the service account token will be used, and then we'll offer a Flux install or Flux Bootstrap option to switch to user impersonation. Then ask people, hey, please try it out, see how the experience is it better, can we improve that, and afterwards go and implement this everywhere if that's the right way to go.
Yep, sounds good.
Super. Anything else on this subject? I have two quick announcements. One is that next week I'm going to send out the monthly blog post again. So if you have anything you would like to see covered, here's the draft. It's still empty. Yeah, please free to add. And then in 2 weeks' time, it is eDops Day, so you might want to sign up for this. Anything else you would like to discuss, or where you need some help? All right, it was a very quick meeting today, only half an hour. I guess I'll see you all online. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks.
Have a good
Bye.
day.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.